I'm Liam McLindon and this is Dragonheart.
Toza leans against the wall of the stand, hurls it in towards the far post. It drops loose!
Yeah! Yes!
Tremendous finish by Harry Lennon! Well, what a finish! It was a great throw. It was touched on, and Lennon unmarked 6 yards out, far post on the pivot, just lashed a half volley in.
Well, this is Chay Long, and this is Mark Griffiths, and this is Dragonheart. How's things, Mark?
Pretty good at the moment, to be honest with you. I'm certainly happy after Tuesday. That wasn't the worst performance, was it?
Certainly wasn't, and some excellent goals, and it was a much-needed win against a side who we should be thrashing as well.
Exactly, but you can only beat what's put in front of you, and you know it's the second biggest win by any team this season in our division anyway, so it shows people haven't been blasting 5 goals past Aldershot. So yeah, I'm extremely happy with it, to be honest.
So yeah, I was over the moon. It was a much needed win, but first we have the Harrogate game to talk about. We of course have the Aldershot game to talk about, and we're going to talk about a bit of a unique one, really, talking about a Wrexham 11 without UK players, which takes a little bit of thinking, doesn't it?
It certainly did. I mean, we've had some great ones sent in to us by listeners, and we'll talk about them. But also, when I tried to work it out, I got out the old big spreadsheet and realised that there actually there's certain areas of the team that we haven't had non-British players in. So, it was a bit of a head-scratcher. It was fun.
Yeah, and I had a great time thinking about it myself. It was thought about when my young baby was screaming at 3 o'clock in the morning. So I thought, let's do that. But anyway, we've got plenty of other Wrexham related things to talk about. Let's get straight to it. This is Dragonheart.
From the heart of your community, this is Calon FM.
Well, first thing to talk about was that disappointing result, I'd say, against Harrogate, which I think, you know, if we were playing a really good quality side, don't get me wrong, but to lose the way we did was disappointing, wasn't it?
Yeah, but in a different way from previous losses this season. This season, you think, oh, this performance has been a bit patchy. We've not put in a full 90 minutes, but this was a bit different. I thought we did really well, but we played against, like you said, very strong opposition, and it's disappointing because we should have won it, really. 20 minutes left, we looked in control. I know only 1 goal up, but we had a very specific game plan, and it worked really well. So it was disappointing to lose because we got ourselves into such a great position, and because indisputably, for the first 70 minutes of the game, we were the better side.
Which is a shame, isn't it? It's a massive shame, but that's when you're coming across quality sides, you have to be on the ball for the whole 90 minutes, don't you?
Well, exactly. And we were, and that's what is frustrating compared to other, previous games like the Torquay one where we looked exhausted for the last 20 minutes. And this wasn't like that. We changed our formation again, went to 5 at the back, and we played differently from any other game because this was a different type of match, away to a side with division higher up and in good form. Well, I say in good form. I know they'd lost 3 out of 4, but before then they were second in the division above us. So we defended sort of, well, I don't want to say we defended deep, but we were happy to not have the ball. But we kept really good defensive discipline. The back 5, kept a fairly high line. The midfield dropped off, so there was no room. And Harrogate were coming forwards, and then halfway through our half, were suddenly finding a line of 9 outfield players, and they couldn't find space to pass through it, and they couldn't knock it over the top. And we were so impressive. And then we hit them on the break, and looking for set pieces and hitting them on the break. We got better at that as the game went on. Got the goal from the set piece, and like I say, with 20 minutes left, I mean, honestly, I was expecting a storm from Harrogate after the break. I thought they'd come at us and really try to tear us to pieces. And instead, that was perhaps our most controlled period of the game, where we were on top of the match. And we looked so comfortable with 20 minutes to go. So, the frustration was that we didn't close her out.
Which is it? It's a crying shame. But first, I'd like you to explain because unfortunately, I've not watched the full 90 minutes, so it's hard when you listen to the radio and you're not actually watching the game. It's hard to get a full picture, isn't it, of what the game was like? So I'd like you to explain the first goal. And it's cracking to get John Ponticelli on the score sheet, wasn't it?
It certainly was, and it's great to see him hitting some goal-scoring form. I mean, basically, we've talked all season about Tozer's throw-ins and the way to get the best out of them. Well, goodness me, we're getting a lot out of them now. I mean, he's on 6 assists already for the season after Tuesday. But that first goal at Harrogate, I mean, first and foremost, hats off to Ponticelli. We said in a Torquay game, didn't we, that his work rate was phenomenal. But in this game, he carried on. He was on his own up front. He worked ever so hard. I mean, he was a real problem for the centre-backs. He's not big. He's not strong in the air. But either way, he was just backing into the centre-backs and scrapping with them. They just couldn't get a clean head on anything. So everything that was knocked long, they were just heading into midfield for us to scrap for. So he was doing a great job anyway. But then with the goal, it all came about when he made a nice run and the pass played to him was overhit. And he did superbly to chase it, slid in and just about got enough on it to keep it in play. He then slid off the pitch, tried to get up again, trod on a discarded coat behind the goal and slipped, but still managed to get up and get to the ball before a defender and kept it alive, and we won a throw-in. And it was because he kept that lost cause alive that we won the throw, and then he got his reward from the throw because Tozer slings it in. Hayden went up in the near post. I thought at the time he got a touch, but he didn't. He just jumped, didn't quite get the flick, but that was good because he also deceived the player with him. So neither of them touched it. It bounced through to the far post where James Jones, well, it was very unorthodox, but it's extremely effective. He backed into his man and used him as leverage and then hit an overhead kick. He didn't quite get hold of it, but then this is where Ponticelli earns his goal. He's a goal scorer by instinct, and he's clearly thought, okay, there's a nice big empty space in the 6-yard box. I'll get in here, and then if the ball comes in, I'll have scored. And that's what happened. Jones's overhead kick was a bit sliced, and it just dropped there, and he was on his own, and it was the easiest of finishes. But with both his hard work doing the throw and his striking instincts to get into that spot, Ponticelli really earns the right to have a tap-in.
Oh, which is excellent for him. And I think he was so unlucky to not get on the score sheet against Torquay, wasn't he? He did everything. The work rate was fantastic, and we were huge fans of his last season when a lot of people were criticising him, and he's now really showing off his class. And I think it's going to be hard to get him off the team, isn't it?
It's going to be fascinating, isn't it? Because Paul Mullen, of course, comes back in. And I mean, my assumption would be that Mullen will come straight back into the team, surely. And yeah, Ponticelli has done brilliantly. And I think that Parkinson is going to have to find a way to accommodate both of them. I don't think it'll be that difficult, actually, but certainly Ponticelli's earned the right to try and be a partner with Mullen there.
Yeah, and everyone seems to be high on him, and it's really nice to see because the quality's there, isn't it, with Ponticelli? Everyone can see that, but his execution, especially last season at times, was very disappointing, wasn't it? And he has had his injury problems as well, so it's really nice to see him hit a nice run of form.
And to be fair to him, I mean, last season was a bit of a nightmare in terms of getting his fitness and in terms of injury. Yeah. And at the very end of the form, he suddenly looked right, suddenly looked 100%. Yeah. He scores 3 goals in the last 4 games. And the way he's looked since he's come back in for the Torquay game has looked like similar form. He's got 2 and 3 now, and he's doing well. And I could see he and Mullen combining pretty well. You know, Hyde and Mullen combined well because Hyde does a lot of hard work for Mullen, takes the strain off him. And I can see Ponticelli doing a similar job for him, to be honest.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. And so back to the game, we got a goal at a really, really good time, didn't we? 38 minutes into the game. Going into that second half, how was you feeling at half time?
I mean, I felt pretty comfortable. They'd not really threatened us in the first half at all. And I assumed that Harrogate would rally and come at us hard at the start of the second half. And I thought that would be a crucial period. Just goes to show that you shouldn't just trust your cliches, because it wasn't. They made a sub at halftime, a tactical sub. So you think, yeah, okay, the manager's got them in. He's reorganised them, and now they're going to go at us. And the truth of the matter is, the next 15, 20 minutes, we were in complete control. We weren't just defending well and hitting them on the break. We were the better side. We had more of the ball than them. We moved it around really well. We were bossing the game. We were making chances. And it was fantastic to watch. And you thought, well, okay, the storm didn't come. At that point, you're thinking, this feels about as comfortable as a 1-0 feels, and we're away to a higher division club. It's fantastic. And what happened, basically, was that the Harrogate manager, Simon Weaver, well, I mean, okay, with the FA Cup now, from the first round onwards, you can make 5 substitutions. You can have 9 men on the bench. And he took advantage of that. He used his 5 subs, making 4 of them in quick succession, changed the shape of his team, and obviously had altered half the personnel. And the subs made a big impact, not only in terms of an alteration in the way the game was going, which caught us out a bit, but also in terms of both the goals were scored by their subs. So last time that happened, 2 substitutes scoring against Wrexham was Brian Hughes' last game in charge at Fylde. So it's a very rare occurrence.
Wow.
But that was frustrating. It was also frustrating because although he made that change, the game did start to feel different almost immediately. But then the goal, which came about 3-4 minutes after he'd made all his changes, was also down to an absolutely amazing pass by Falkingham, the centre mid, who is a quality axe. He's a really good player. And he just pinged an amazing pass at the edge of our area. Brisley had stepped out of the back 3 to follow a player. And I don't think he needed to be honest. But having said that, that shows what a good ball it was. It was a tiny little window, a chance to hit the ball in behind him, and it had to be hit perfectly. And he absolutely nailed this amazing pass. And Brisley, out of position, came running back, dived in and gave away the foul, which led to the free kick. And even then, it was a little bit frustrating because it was right on the edge of the area. It was rolled to the side, and the substitute power really smashed it in. But at the time, I couldn't see what, but something looked wrong. He had too much time to hit it. And on the train coming back, a Wrexham fan came up to me and he said, "Oh, that wall, that was way too far back, wasn't it?" I thought, "I wonder if that's it." When I looked at the video, it was neither that we weren't ready, which is what I thought, or that the wall was too far back, but it looked wrong. The reason being, Luke Young was the runner off the wall, and it was very wet. Players were slipping all over the place throughout the match. And Young, when the ball was rolled square, Young tried to push off, to sprint at it and charge down the shot, and he slipped in the wet and fell over. And that was why Power had so much time to pick his spot and smash it in, because you see, Luke Young normally would have got fairly close to him and might have got a block on, or might have hurried his shot. But because Young slipped in the wet, it was not his fault, but because he slipped in the wet, Power had a bit of extra time, edge of the area, and great finish, but he had a good chance to score from there.
It was horrendously frustrating because the second goal was also a frustrating one, wasn't it?
Yeah, and this was again Luke Young, but this was his fault. Just got it wrong. We all do it. Seen the best players do it. He played the back pass, didn't see it. There was a Harrogate player there, and even then we nearly got out away with it because Lainton, who's so quick off his line, of course, came out and made a fantastic save. The ball span loose, and to be fair, Danilo Orsi, I thought, took it well, even though it was an open goal. He was outside the box. There was a defender after him, and he had to take it first time, and he just kept his cool. And yeah, that was unlucky. That it was a mistake by Young. He admitted it himself, but he'd had a good game. coming back from injury, and it was a pity. And after that, I mean, fair play to Wrexham. We threw the kitchen sink at them, absolutely threw the kitchen sink at them. And it was a real pity that we weren't able to get a goal back, because there were so many goal-mouth skirmishes in added time. There's one bit where Leighton made a chance when he went up for a throw-in. And we were really unlucky that we weren't able to make a chance that we could convert, frankly. So it was an excellent effort against a side who, like I said, are from a division higher up. It was a smashing effort.
To be honest, I was obviously frustrated that we lost after listening to us, and it was actually a really joyful listen for the most part. And you can't say that about a few of the losses this season. To be fair, and to be honest with you, I know you shouldn't probably say this, but losing games like that, it's not the end of the world, is it? You know, when you lose to a good side away from home in the FA Cup, it's a shame we're not in the pot for the next round, but I also don't think it's the worst thing in the world for the long term of our season as well. You know, it's time to focus on the league, isn't it? And make sure we're getting as many points as possible.
Absolutely. I don't get me wrong, a cup run would be fantastic, but like you say, our priority is not the cup. Our priority is the league. Okay, this has happened now, put it behind us. The fact that we kept a similar shape and did so well at Aldershot means that, you know, maybe some good has come from that good performance at Harrogate, because we might have found a different formula to make things work for us. And yeah, basically, we just have to kick on from there. You know, we put in a good performance away from home. We were unlucky to lose, but now we've got to focus. It also reduces the fixture congestion, because we'll be able to play Dover rather than be playing in the second round of the FA Cup. We won't have a replay either, because replay could have caused problems, because November is absolutely chock-a-block for us. So it doesn't, it means we won't have that extra game again. And November, I'd rather play Dover away on a Saturday than a midweek, because it gives a chance for more Wrexham fans to get down there and give them some support as well. So, I'd rather we won, but this isn't the most disastrous defeat either, frankly.
Yeah, a draw would have been a pretty bad result with all the congestion, wouldn't it? So, yeah, you take it. You take it as it is. We lost to a good side, and to be honest, when you lose to good sides, and especially from the sounds of things, we played really, really well, showed some really good signs, and if we play like that against majority of teams in the National League, we will win more games than we'll lose. So I think you can look at that with a really positive note.
Wrexham's Heartbeat. This is Calon FM.
Following Tuesday, I was a little bit more anxious going into the Aldershot game than I probably would have, because I think the fans needed a big win, didn't they? I think we all needed something to really raise our spirits, and boy, didn't we deliver.
Oh, yes. Yes, we did. I mean, you know, the pressure was on Parkinson a little bit, because we needed, like you said, the results. We've had this tough start to the season. We all know that. We've then got the run of apparently nicer fixtures. And the truth of the matter is, the first three of those, we've got 4 points out of 9, which isn't really what we wanted. So we needed now this little run this week, which is a lot of travelling, but, you know, going to Harrogate, but then coming back and going again on Tuesday all the way down to Hampshire, then going again to Kings Lynn on Saturday. We needed to get results out of those. Then the Wealdstone game the week after. And well, we did it pretty emphatically. Were you also a little worried just because that game, well, I mean, having had the abandoned game, you know, the sort of feeling of this would really hurt if you didn't win it, because we'd already won it once and then we'd have lost those points forever?
Yes and no, really. I don't really believe in this. We're Wrexham and this is going to happen. We're going to lose because this. You know, you look at their form and where they are in the table. You know, I would have just been a bit more anxious that things could really go pear-shaped if we did lose this game. So we have 7 points this season. You know, they've lost to Barnet, they've lost to Weymouth, they've lost to Bromley, they've lost to Bowers and Pitsea, they've lost to Stockport, and their last win was Dover, which says a lot about their season, doesn't it? So I think it was a must-win, and also it was a must we needed to have a convincing win against a team like this, and we did. And some of the goals were excellent to watch, weren't they?
Oh, I mean, fabulous, weren't they? It really, really were. But like you said, that we had to punish them because they'd lost every home game this season. They'd lost 9 games in a row going back to last season. And I was working out when I was writing the preview for the club website. I had a look and found that actually in the top 7 tiers of English football, only one other team has no points at home this season, and that's Barwell Town, who are 2 divisions below us. And the reason they've got no points is because they had a new 3G pitch fitted, so they've only played 1 home game. So Aldershot's home record is absolutely appalling. And like you said, fortunately, we put them to the sword. And I know Phil Parkinson felt that the 52 minutes we managed at Aldershot when we got called off were the best we played this season. This was better. We battered them. This was the football equivalent of just holding their head inside the car door and slamming it continuously on them. It was a beating. It was cruel. And I loved every second.
Which is needed if you're going to be a team that's pushing for... Let's be quite honest, this season we're probably not going to we're not going to win the league.
No.
We're a bit... Let's be brutally honest with ourselves now. It's going to take a miracle for us to win the league now. We are 10 points away from top, which, we're creeping around Christmas now. That's a big stretch, isn't it, for us to win the league?
Creeping around Christmas sounds like Santa's motto. You know what? You've convinced me that maybe we can still win the league. I never realised that. Gosh, I'm just having a look at the table now. So we're 9th. We're 10 points off the top of the league. We've got a game in hand on all the teams above us except Bromley. So in that game in hand, we're 7 points off the top of the league. Oh, it's on. Oh, we've won it. Thank goodness. You know what? I really thought we were further back than that. Thank you, Grimsby, for popping points.
But really, we're going to have to go on a good run.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely a really, really good run to get into to get in title contention. But I don't think that's going to be the port of call this season. Let's get on a good run and get 3rd or 4th. 3rd, 4th, 2nd. Maybe go for a title run, but it's going to have to be something special for us to win the league now, I must say. But make sure we're getting securely into the playoffs this year, so we're not worried about, are we going to make the playoffs coming into the last game of the season?
Well, I mean, right. Having just looked at the table then and had a reset, I'm thinking maybe I'm not as worried about being off the title pace as I thought. Maybe I'm a naive man saying this. I accept. But you want to be 2nd or 3rd if you go in the playoffs, don't you? Because you're then 1 home game away from the final. That's the way this convoluted system works. And that's what you want, isn't it? You don't want to end up in the situation we've been in previously where, you got a home quarter final, which we blew against Eastleigh. Was that 3 seasons ago? But apart from anything else, it's harsh to say we blew it. I think that, to be fair, the referee made some important decisions that didn't go our way. But the fact of the matter is that we could, we'd have won that, and then all we'd have earned was an away game against a team that finished higher up than us. So we still would have the odds against us. Whereas the home semi-final, right, okay, now we're in business, aren't we? But I don't feel so bad then. I had a bit of a shock. I was convinced that we were further back than we are. I'm just being stupidly optimistic, aren't I?
But
Tell me I'm not.
Hit a good... I've seen crazier things in football, but we're going to have to hit a good run now. We've got these 3 really winnable games. Yeah. No, not 3 now. We've just had one, and then we've got these 2 other winnable games we've got to play now. They're just going to have to be wins. These games are going to have to be wins, so you can afford to draw to, Chesterfield against teams like Chesterfield and Grimsby when we play them at home. You can afford to draw those sort of games. Then let's just go on a crazy run, and let's hope we do get a title challenge. But for me, let's get into the playoffs without worrying the last game of the season, unlike last season.
Absolutely right. And it was kicked off by... Yeah, go on.
Yeah, let's get back to the game. So, Aaron Hayden opened the goals tally for Wrexham with it. Was it a throw-in again from Tozer?
That's right, direct throw-in onto his head. Lovely flick header by him in off the far post. Absolutely textbook. We dominated them. For the first 5 minutes, you think, oh, this is going to be slaughter. We had a sort of shout for a penalty. I don't think it was in the box quite, but it was, for the ref didn't give a foul, which was bizarre. And it was an indicator of what was to come because Bryce Hosanna was starting on the left. Now, first thing to say about that, I was a little sorry for Gam Green, who finally got a start last Saturday and did really well, I thought. So I thought he must have been a bit disappointed to find that his place is taken by a player playing on the wrong side. But having said that, Hosanna really caused them problems. And the fullback he was up against was Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain's brother, Christian, who actually had a good game in that game that was abandoned in midfield. Playing at right back, the poor lad looked all at sea, and Hosanna was just tormenting him. And that's it. Very early on, he just burst past him, and it was it was a clear foul and a borderline if it was in the box or not. I think probably not quite. The referee maybe wasn't sure because he just didn't even give a foul, which was astonishing. But we really got at them. Tozer had a good headed chance that he put wide from a Luke Young free kick. And you think, this is great, this. But they just started to get a little bit of control back into the game when Rob Lainton was injured. And he had 9 minutes of treatment. I mean, it's horrible injuries. He's coming back from being knocked out and have his nose broken. And he got flipped up in the air and face planted. Oh, it was horrible. And I was slightly surprised they let him carry on. But after that long break, we just got straight back at them and really put them under pressure. And yeah, like I said, that goal was coming. But again, Tozer's throw-ins has caused problems. We've got another couple of big centre-backs in there to get on the end of things, and Tozer slinging them in. It's working.
Well, yeah, it certainly is. And it's a lot of people are critical at the start of the season, but you've got to think. I read a statistic somewhere online, and I think around in the Premier League between the seasons of 2013 to 2015, those 2 seasons, there was only something like 3 or 4% of corners led to a goal, and we've had a lot of goals from throw-ins so far this season, which shows how much of an effective tool they are, especially at this level.
And the other thing is what we said a few weeks ago. He slings these throw-ins in. If he hits the target, great, because we've got a chance to have a go at goal. If he doesn't, it's quite hard to get a proper clearance on them because they're quite floaty. So we can always fight to win the second ball back on the edge of the area, get it back in. And the reason he's got 6 assists isn't just because of his throws. It's also because, direct from his throws. It's also because they're hard to clear. And Tozer, because he's out there on the wing, is unmarked when the ball is half cleared. And if we win it back, we very quickly get back to him again. And he's a decent crosser of the ball as well. In the sense that he doesn't whip in these magical David Beckham crosses, but he puts the ball into a good area where people can fight for it. So the 5th goal comes from exactly that, but he throws it in, it actually slips out of his hand a little bit. He doesn't quite get it right, but we win the second ball, get it out to him, he slings it into the far post, and Jordan Davis makes a fantastic header. But that's, we're getting the benefit from the throw-in because we often win the second balls and get it back out to Tozer, who's got space to measure across. So it works in 2 ways, and it's a very useful tool for us to have.
Oh, especially, and it works. It works in any sort of situation, especially if we're, say, 1 or 2 down. If we get a throw-in, teams are going to be scared to concede throw-ins, aren't they, rather than corners? So it's a brilliant tool. Really, really happy. And 1-0 Aaron Hayden just before half-time, and then Harry Lennon pops up with another one just before half-time again.
It was brilliant. Within 2 minutes of Hayden's goal, it could have been 3-0. Because Lennon scores very soon afterwards, and it was a controversial one, but having looked at the video frame by frame, I think the ref and linesman were right to allow it. So ball into the box again from a set piece, this time a Luke Young free kick. It's cleared out to James Jones. He pulled his shot, but Hayden and Ponticelli are coming back from an offside position. When he hits the shot, Hayden's definitely onside. Ponticelli is borderline, but the fact is that he's not interfering with play. I think that's part of why people were shouting for offside, because you saw the two of them were quite close together. But Ponticelli's beyond Hayden. He's not offside. He's not interfering. And Hayden did really well to turn the shot goalwards and hit the bar. Drops down. And then I said about Orsi controlling his finish well on Saturday. Well, Harry Lennon, having scored a beauty in our last home game, gets his second goal for the club. And again, a very good finish. It's coming at him quite fast. Again, he's 15 yards out. There's a lot of the goal to aim for, but he does really well to hit it into the ground, I thought, just to make sure he doesn't just hit it and send it over. By hitting it into the ground, it makes that less likely, and it skids on and goes in. And then straight from the kickoff, Ponticelli's one-on-one with the keeper, and uncharacteristically sort of thrashes at it a bit, and the keeper makes a good save. But that's the sort of finish that Ponticelli usually shows a little bit more finesse with, which he certainly did in the second half. So we could have been 3 up at the break, which would have been, I wouldn't say would be an unreasonable reflection of how the game was going.
And it was 3 at the break. Can't be too greedy. I was just happy with 2 because it's something that we haven't done this season. Burying teams. And to be fair, you look at the Dagenham and Redbridge first half, you look at the Notts County first half, all the home games this season, even the Woking first half, we could have been 1 or 2-0 up, and it was nice to actually be more than one goal up going into the second half. And I think if we can do that more times this season, I think it takes the pressure off the second half performance, and we can maybe be a bit more tired if we're 2-3-0 up.
Exactly. How many times have I been saying this season it's frustrating that we don't get that second goal? And I found it really hard to put my finger on that. We have no trouble scoring because we've scored in every single game this season, which, as has been reported, only Wrexham and Liverpool have scored in every game in the league this season in Britain, in the top 5 leagues. If we score on Kings Lynn, we'll match the post-1921 club record for the most games from the start of the season that we've scored in, 17. And, so it is a remarkable feat, this. And yet, too many of those games we have scored, we haven't got the second goal, which I find hard to explain. But on this one, you're right. We put them to bed in the first half. And then in the second half, to be honest, Aldershot came at us quite hard. They'd taken off Oxlade-Chamberlain, who was tormented, like I said, throughout the first half. And they had a little spell where they put us under pressure. Dibble's in goal now, of course, as Leighton went off at half-time. But I really thought the third goal encouraged me a lot because we'd had a rough sort of first 10 minutes of the second half. We were defending okay, but we weren't really getting the ball down. And it just felt to me like a really sensible, intelligent piece of thinking by the team. We managed to get the ball down from a throw, and we just kept it. And I think the first thought in the team's collective mind was, we're under pressure here, so we'll do the experienced thing. We'll take the sting out of this. We'll move the ball around and just, draw their sting. And so we started doing that. We probed, we moved it from right to left again. Really recirculated the ball around, looking for gaps. We're very calm on the ball. And then managed to find the passes forwards. Jordan Davis playing a progressive pass. Dan Jarvis playing a nice little pass down the line to really open it up. Hosanna did really well, hitting the goal line, pulling the ball back nicely. And Reece Hall-Johnson, first start since the first game of the season. Brilliant to see him get through it. Side foots it in. And I look back on it. It's a 15-pass move. We kept the ball for 58 seconds. It was just, I think it started off as a reaction to, we're under pressure here, so we're just keeping the ball. We're just going to take the pressure out of this situation, but then turned into a patient piece of play that we managed to work into a goal. And I found that extremely satisfying.
And what a nice way, and such a nice feeling Cerise Johnson back on the pitch and get a goal as well. He was arguably our best player last season. It was a shame to lose him to injury so early on in the season. I'm not saying, he's got a lot of work to keep Tyler French off the team sheet as well, isn't he? So, yeah, excellent to see him score a goal. And then for me, the fourth goal, Jordan Ponticelli's, that's got to be nice. It's got to be goal of the season contender, isn't it?
Oh gosh, yeah. Oh, it was lovely, wasn't it? I'll tell you what I really loved about it, apart from everything, is a minute beforehand. I mean, Aldershot, to be fair, reacted quite well to going 3-0 down, and a minute beforehand, Dibble makes a fantastic double save, or Aldershot would have pulled the goal back. The first shot from Andrews, Dibble. Well, it's a long ball into the box for throwing, and Dibble does really well to come and punch it to start off with. When it comes back in, really powerful half volley from Corey Andrews. Dibble's partially unsighted and makes a superb save low to his right. Comes out to Mo Silla. He blasts it back in. Dibble makes a really good recovery save to block it. And then a minute later, we're 4-0 up because James Jones has just had the most fabulous run down the wing, hasn't he? Flicker over his man's head. That was beautiful. And then Dan Jarvis runs down the line and you think, has he cut off Jones's path here? Does his run cause the problem for us? Does Jones now have to slow it down and give it to a wide player? But he whips this brilliant ball into the middle. Ponticelli's one-on-one. And of course, this is what I was talking about before, finishing with finesse, finishing with panache, never mind finesse. Lovely little touch to bring it down just outside his right foot. And then, oh, what a finish. His little curler into the top corner when he's one-on-one. Oh, my God. It was just, it made me happy, Chay. I'm going to say it. Made me happy.
I think it made every Wrexham fan happy. And as I said previously, him and Paul Mullen, if he carries on playing the way he has done, and if Paul Mullen comes back firing the way he has done with his quality, that's a really good strike partnership. And let's hope that really works out between them two playing together. And then to finish off the game, Jordan Davis got a goal as well, which it's just excellent, isn't it? It was winning 5-0 away from home against Aldershot, especially after them beating us 3-0 away from home last season, didn't they?
Yeah.
And of course the postponed match early on this season. It's a nice little bit of revenge, isn't it?
Oh, it certainly is. We hadn't scored in the last 4 games we went there, and we've taken 3 batterings in those matches because a couple of the 2-0s felt like worse than 2-0s. So it was lovely to do that. And look, that game that we played last month, it did have to be called off, but it left a sour taste in the mouth that some of the Aldershot staff, I think, took a bit of pleasure in the fact that it was going to be called off. A lot of people have remarked, I think rightly, on the lack of activity by the Aldershot ground staff, even if it's a foregone conclusion, and even if you're losing 2-0 and you'd rather it was called off, you should still be seen to do the right thing because you'll come out of it with dignity and respect. But there was an instant where it looked like one of the ground staff was taunting Tyler French while the Wrexham players were trying to get the pitch playable. And it wasn't a good look for Aldershot. The fact that they then weren't giving refunds to the Wrexham fans also wasn't great. So it did leave a bad taste in the mouth. And it felt rather satisfying, I've got to be honest, to, call me mean-spirited, but you heard all the Aldershot fans enthusiastically chanting for the game to be called off in the first one. And all I can say is be careful what you wish for, because I think this was a worse battering for them than they would have got in the first match. We were well on top of the first match. I didn't see us throwing it away, but I don't know that it would have developed into a 5-0 stuffing. So they may have got a bit of relief getting that game called off, but when it actually happened, they couldn't put off the inevitable. I think it was worse than it would have been for them.
I did have to laugh. I did see an Aldershot fan's response to that on Twitter saying the game getting called off was the highlight of their season. So credit where it's due. A lot of them have a good sense of humour, and I think the way they're playing, the position they're in, and their form, you're going to have a good sense of humour, aren't you?
Yeah. To be fair, I do find Aldershot generally to be a good club. I'm not trying to say anything too serious about it, but they didn't handle it well the first match. It was going to be called off anyway. Why not look like you're trying to get it to continue, you know?
And then this leads us to Kingsland Town this Saturday, which is a must. Pressure off a little bit. Now we've got a good result. I believe Paul Mullen's back, isn't he?
Yeah, that's right. I assume the obvious change would be for him to replace Dan Jarvis. And I feel sorry for Jarvis in that he did very well on Tuesday. But you think about, we're going back to 3 at the back. So it's natural we can have 2 strikers. Mullen also played off 1 striker when we were playing the 4-2-3-1. So that does look like a natural move. And we saw again in the Torquay game how Botticelli his runs were really creating space for other players. Well, Mullen would love that, wouldn't he? Us creating space for Paul Mullen sounds like a good idea to me.
It does. And this leads us into Kings Lane, and let's hope we get another thrashing or another comfortable win. And let's get a run going now, because I think this team deserves it. We've got the quality there. We've got a quality management. We spent a lot of money. The expectation from the fans is rightly high this season. So come on, let's get a good run going. Let's keep the good vibes going.
Absolutely. I should point out as well, having put Aldershot to the sword, where they got no points at home this season, Kings Lynn got 1 point at home this season, so their home form's hardly much better. There's another reason why I wouldn't mind us beating Kings Lynn. I think if we could get our own back on Aldershot for the way they handled the abandonment, and then win on Saturday against a certain person who seems a bit obsessed with us, that'd be quite good fun.
Leave Gold Amateo alone.
No, Gold! I love you, Gold. I wasn't talking about you, mate.
Let's talk about our favourite foreign 11 side.
I'm Aaron Hayden, and this is Dragonheart.
It was a topic that I randomly come up with Mark, and he liked the idea. We're going to talk about our non-UK Wrexham 11, and in my team, I've decided to pick some Irish players because I believe that Ireland is nothing like us. It's a completely separate country. So, yeah, I've decided to choose Irish players. A few people haven't. I believe you haven't either, Mark.
I've gone the other way. I thought I'd go for it without Irish players. And if I'm honest with you, my main reason for that was Phil Hardy. I thought, we have some Irish players who really are not Irish at all. It felt a bit weird putting them in a non-UK team, so I decided I'd go that way.
Yeah, well, I don't blame you. So, have you got any suggestions from Twitter?
I certainly have. Well, Alid174 comes up with this beauty. He has used Irish players, and he's put some good ones in. So, I'm just looking at it now and thinking one of your master strokes he's used as well. So Dan Bachmann in goal, Austrian, of course, current Premier League goalkeeper. The back four, well, I'm particularly interested in the right back. I really like this call. Richie de Laet, the Belgian player, was on loan from Man United. And sadly, after 4 games, he got injured and couldn't play for us again. But I think we let in 1 goal in those 4 games at Kidderminster. He looks a really quality fullback to me, and I think that's a really good call. Left back, Phil Hardy. Centre backs, how about this? Yeah, beat these 2 in the air. Dennis Lawrence and Brian Carey. Nice.
Oh, yeah.
In midfield, we have quite an attacking look to it. Carlos Edwards, Kevin Thornton, and Adrian Cislevic. Yeah, and then up front, well, let's just say there's a little bit of crafty play going on here. We have Juan Ugarte, John Walters, and Lee Trundle, because Alid reckons he's Irish. Not sure about that, but nonetheless, okay, take your point. It's a good team.
Yeah. It's a good team, but Lee Trundle isn't Irish.
I think you're taking a little bit of a liberty there. We've got Alan Jones on this side. That's got similarities. The defence is the same. Bachmann, de Laet, Hardy, Lawrence, and Carey. The midfield has got, it's a 4-4-2. Right, centre mid, Silvio Span and Kieran Durkin. Well, Durkin was a winger, really, but he was physical. Grant you that, Alan. Fair play. Left wing, Carlos Edwards. Right wing, Hector Sam. Up front, now here we are, Juan Ugarte, and I love this call, Danny Allsop. He was an Australian striker who came to us on loan in the 90s. If my memory serves me right, he played 4 games. Played, I think, 6 games, scored 4 goals, and was an excellent striker. Alan does say my central midfield needs some work, and I think, full disclosure here, it was fascinating going through this. Got the old spreadsheet out, looked through the players who played for us, and there really aren't many centre mids of any sort of quality who've played for us who aren't from the UK. So it was interesting to see that. To be fair, Alan, I don't think you've done much about that.
Fair enough.
Wrexham Carl has given us a squad as well as a first 11. There's some interesting names in here. So Marius Rövde in goal is a good goalkeeper, was Norwegian goalkeeper. 5 at the back, centre backs. Look at this for a Gallic lineup: Mani Asumani, Aurélien Collin, and Dennis Lawrence. I like the look of that. That's a solid back three. Got a lot of pace in there as well. On the wings, get this: Carlos Edwards is the right wing back. Imad Buanan, the ultimate cult hero. He's on the left-hand side. I've got to say, left wing back was a sort of area I wanted to play in. He can get away a little bit with some of the lazy defending, but he can cause mayhem going forwards. Centre mid, he's come up with an interesting solution because, of course, Adriano Moke has Portuguese heritage, so he's gone for it. Moke, Hedi Tabubi, and Adrian Cislevic. And then up front, how about this for a duo? Juan Ugarte and Matthias Pogba. That's tasty. And there's some good calls on the bench as well. Frank Sinclair, Jos Mayebi, Dan Bennett, who's a Singapore international, who was in the team that went up in 2003. Chris Killen, good call, New Zealand's international striker, who again came on loan to us and looked very good. And the ultimate super sub from the early 90s, John Paskin, Steve Watkin and Gary Bennett's backup man. I love that. That's
love it.
Tasty team. And Carl does point out subs. He had subs just so he could include Paskin because it would be wrong to start him because he was very much a super sub. Paskin, good player, mind. There's some more here as well, but do you maybe want to run through what your team was as well?
Right, let's run through mine. I've gone for in goal, Jocelyn Maybe, of course. Cameroonian international. Love the guy when he was playing. He wasn't to everyone's taste, was he? But I think some of the saves he made were fantastic, and then some of the gaffes he made were equally as fantastic. I've gone for like a 5 at the back. I've gone David Artell, Carey and Lawrence. Imagine getting past them 3.
Artell, yeah.
I've put
David
Artell. Yeah, of course. And a cracking player for us as well, I think, that season.
Good job.
Yeah.
And he could also do your taxes as well, of course. He's football manager / tax advisor now, isn't he?
Exactly. And he scored that goal against Kidderminster in the semi-final, wasn't it? Which was excellent. And I've gone for Carlos Edwards and Phil Hardy, right wing back and left wing back. Phil Hardy's a little bit before my time, but just hearing all the other Wrexham fans talk about him was just enough for me to put him in the team.
Absolute class. Yeah.
And then centre midfielders was the one I just could not think of anyone. Like, honestly, so I went for Silvio Span, who I love. Silvio Span. He tried his best, didn't he? Not
the most flattering description of a player. Tried his best.
He didn't really have the quality, did he? He scored that amazing free kick on YouTube, and everyone was expecting the world's best player. But yeah, and then I've gone for Kevin Thornton, who I thought was absolutely excellent that same season. Really good players. Maybe he could have been playing at a lot higher level if he didn't have the problems off the pitch, allegedly. And then I put just behind the strikers, Chieslovic. Again, and could have definitely been playing at a higher level, but maybe just didn't quite have it. And then up front, I've gone for Pogba. And of course, Wanyagate. I think everyone's saying Wanyagate. You could probably argue between him and Carlos Edwards, our greatest ever foreign player.
That's a very fair comment. That absolutely right, especially if we're not counting Irish players, so Brian Carey doesn't come into the equation. Hardy was an outstanding fullback, absolutely rock solid, quality player. And I think you're right that Thornton, if we're counting the Irish players, I think is the best midfielder, central midfielder that we've got at our disposal, I would argue. Because like I said, it is rather thin. And if you want proof of that, I'll go through Rural Detective. Rural Detective is a brilliant correspondent on the live commentaries and on Twitter. And his team illustrates the problem of centre mid. He's got Miyabi in goal, back four, Dan Bennett, Brian Carey, Dennis Lawrence, Imad Bouanan. Now, his midfield, I would argue, Rural Detective, has no midfielders in it. Because, like you say, we haven't got much choice. Carlos Edwards on the right, yeah, totally. Lee McEvely on the left, okay, at a pinch. The centre mids, though, Adrian Chieslovic and Dave Artell. So he's gone for an approach of, if you rolled Chieslovic and Artell into one player and then divided it in half, you'd probably have two centre mids. But instead, rather than what you actually have with those two, which is a little winger who's very quick and wouldn't play centre mid, and a big centre back who would not play centre mid. So I quite like that idea.
Where was Lee McEvely from?
Oh, hang on.
He's English. Scouser, isn't he?
He's a Scouser, but did he have Irish heritage? Oh, yeah, that might be a cheeky one there, Rural Detective. Shocking. I've got to say as well, Rural, he's made a very good spot up front. I would have switched this bloke with McEvely because he could have played left midfield as well. John Walters. So he and Ugarte up front.
Now, Lee McEvely does not count because he represented Northern Ireland once, and Northern Ireland's in the UK. Northern
Ireland, see. So, there you go.
Yeah.
Despite Brexit, Northern Ireland is in the UK. Tim Lewis hand wrote his and took a picture of it. And because I'm not smart enough to take a picture of it myself, I'm going to have to read it, twisting my head round. Miyabi in goal. Phil Hardy, Brian Carey, Dennis Lawrence, Imad Bouanan. Imad's getting some press here. In midfield, now, Chieslovic, Span, Edwards, Paskin. Interesting. Paskin, I think, didn't play as a right winger, if I remember correctly. So he's put Carlos in the centre of midfield. To be fair, I think probably he could do that job. And then up front, Hector Sam and Juan Ugarte. Decent there. Fast team there, isn't it?
What's yours, Mark? Come on.
Mine?
Was hanging.
Well,
yes.
Well, can I just give you Steve Jones's? I think that's the...
Steve Jones.
You've got one left, I think. It's a nice team, this as well. I've just lost it in a panic. Here we are. Shwan Jalal in goal.
Oh.
It's nice. Right back. Now, interesting this. He's got Christian Jean in there, who was an excellent player at his peak, but was awful for us. So that's quite interesting. Richie DeLate. Here's one. I don't think anyone's mentioned him. Marvin Andrews.
Of course, yeah.
And Dennis Lawrence. Then he's gone Kemi Augustian. So I'm not quite... There's a couple of players in here that surprised me, Steve. I'm going to be frank. Kemi Augustian, Manny Asamani, Adrian Chieslovic. Here's one that nobody's mentioned. The Greek Cypriot midfielder, Angelo Chaklis, who was on loan to us twice. That's an interesting one. Deli Adebola and Adi Yusuf. And then the subs.
Of course.
Clayton Ince, Dean Bennett. Oh, I think Dan Bennett. Dean Bennett was from the Midlands. Aurelian Callan, Fika Kelleher, and pushing it a touch here. Naughty, naughty. So I'm going to say, Steve, that's a show-offs team. That's a team of a man who's gone deliberately obscure.
And I love it.
I don't know. Well, anyway, you want mine then, yeah, Chay?
Oh, of course, yes. The one we've been waiting for the most.
Oh, we don't think so. I have avoided Irish players, possibly to my cost. 3 at the back. I've got Miyabi in goal. I've gone Collan, Lawrence, and Andrews as my 3 centre-backs.
Love it.
And then I have the same problems in midfield. So Carlos Edwards, right wing-back. Centre-mid, right. I put Silvio Span in there. He was a centre-mid till he came to us and started off as a centre-mid. Alongside him, at first I thought, Dan Bennett, the centre-back we were talking about, was excellent on the floor. I bet you could sort of recondition him as a defensive midfielder. But I decided in the end maybe I shouldn't. So Hedy to Booby, which I think, again, shows we haven't got much to choose from in centre-mid.
Yeah.
My problem with doing this layout as well is me left wing-back. There's no one really that ticks the boxes. Maybe I could have gone Emad, to be fair. Probably should have done. Instead, I thought, okay, if we're super defensive, Frank Sinclair can do a job there, but as a wing-back, he's not very progressive. And then if we're super attacking, chasing the game, you could put Cislovic on as a wing-back, but he's not going to defend. I'm not happy about these choices. What I am happy about is because I've gone 3 at the back, I can have 3 up front. And I reckon my front 3 of Juan Ugarte, Hector Sam, and Matthias Pogba is going to cause problems.
Tasty team. That is a very, very tasty team. And what we're going to do, well, what we should maybe do is do it on a whole Welsh team and then compare the two.
Oh, I think the Welsh team is going to win.
Oh, yeah, the Welsh team is going to win.
Although the Welsh team will require a bit more historical knowledge because you're going to have to throw in, we haven't had so many Welsh players lately, have we? So that'd be quite interesting.
So we'll definitely do a whole Welsh team and hopefully in tune with celebration of Wales, hopefully qualifying for the World Cup soon.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Well, we've only got a couple of minutes left, so if I can very quickly throw in a couple of players from the past. One who I don't think in terms of quality would have qualified, but remember we talked about McElhenney, the player who was captain of America when they beat England in the 1950 World Cup. So deserves a mention. And also, Rolly Ugolini was our goalkeeper in the 50s, an Italian goalkeeper who, by all accounts, was a heck of a character and a real acrobat. So, he's somebody that maybe, older fans talk about with a lot of reverence would probably have been a contender to be the keeper.
I'm Harry Lennon, and this is Dragonheart.
Wrexham and Welsh football fans are going to be... We've got 2 massive games, so good luck to Wrexham against Kings Lynn. It's going to be a tough away day, like it always is. And also, Wales are playing Belarus, I believe, isn't it? Which is a huge game, and they gave us a really tough game away from home last time. So come on, Wales, and come on, Wrexham.
Absolutely right. And also, big announcement time. Next week's Dragonheart, we're going to feature an interview with Sean Harvey, who, of course, is advisor to Rob McElhenney and Ryan Reynolds, the man who makes so many decisions at the club, and he's happy to take your questions. So please use Twitter to get in touch. You can either reply to my message or the Dragonheart Show's Twitter account's message, or you can use the hashtag #AskSean. That's ASKSHAUN. Get your questions in from the man himself, and we'll see what answer you can come up with.
This is a pretty big interview, isn't it? And I think it's a great way for fans to interact with the people from up above.
Absolutely right. Yeah. Without the expense of a medium.
Exactly. It has been an absolute pleasure, Mark. I really enjoyed talking a really positive week in the Wrexham world.
Absolutely correct, Chay. Long may it continue.
Yeah, let's hope we're both talking about 3 points for both Wrexham and Wales. And also they've got the Belgium game on Tuesday as well, Wales, which I highly doubt that we're going to get anything from. But let's hope we're talking about loads of points for our club and country. This has been Dragonheart.
This is Sean Brisley. This is Dragonheart.